Hey, it is Xennial Gamer, and we're back with another Labyrinth video today. We're going to be looking at Tartarus. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the team I use to auto hell mode on Tartarus, and then we're going to be talking about some alternatives, because I will warn you that there's a couple of Nat 4 LDs in my team. They're not good ones, but for Tartarus, they're good. So we're going to be talking about some of the options for replacing those monsters as well. And then we'll look at the runes that I'm using. And I will say that for my team, it's pretty much 100% to auto when all of the minis are cleared. But it will auto hard mode with no problems with one mini left alive. So as I warned, there are a couple of Nat 4 LDs in here. We have Amarna and Iona. And again, we're going to look at what some of the alternatives for them are. But first, I want to take you through the monsters and the runes, and more importantly, the strategy and the reason that this team works, because understanding why this team works is what's going to allow us to find replacements. So to begin with, we have two revivers, which are Amarna and Iona, and that's the minimum that you can have. Now, my Amarna is on a crit damage build. These are, I call these leftover runes, Destroy Blade Will, and I put these runes on him actually because he runs in my, one of the Dimension of Holes, Cliff of Man. He runs in my Cliff of Man team as well. And so I needed him to be able to do some damage, but it's obviously not a big time damage dealing build because the attack is really low and the crit rate is really low. And he's tanky enough. He's about 180k effective HP if I remember correctly. If you were using Amarna in a lot of different areas of the game, which I don't, ideally he'd be on Violent Will, of course. He would definitely have more accuracy. He would definitely have more crit rate and attack. And he would still have about the same amount of HP, defense, and speed. Or if you had to sacrifice a little bit of speed, you could, but you would want to keep the HP, the defense, and so on, and boost the other stats. These are the Iona stats. She's on Violent Guard, and you'll notice she's got just crazy amounts of HP. She's super tanky. What's that? 1500 defense and 47k HP. Because Iona really doesn't need anything else. She doesn't need accuracy, like literally it could be 0 accuracy, but her attack actually scales off of max HP. So you just jack that HP up as much as you can, and the other stats that she has in there just happen to break that way with the runes that I had available for her. Now, after Amarna and Iona, the next thing you're going to notice is that every single monster on this team is a healer. So I do have one other crit damage build, and that's the Tianqin. And he's actually, I called him a crit damage build, he's not. These runes are kind of funny. Check this out. So we have a speed slot 1, we have an HP slot 6, and we have an attack slot 4. With that 132 crit damage, I bet you really weren't expecting to see a slot 4 attack. But I had big crit damage in the subs, and he's in a rage set. So it kind of worked out nicely for this particular build. He's once again around 170k effective HP. So he's in a tanky bruiser build. And another monster that really doesn't need a ton of accuracy. The only thing he offers, I think, is a heal block. But overall, for the role he's serving in this team, I wouldn't sacrifice other stats. But the role that he serves on this team, it's twofold. One is he's the primary damage dealer, but that's actually the less important role. The more important role is that he's giving my team crit resist on the skill 2. And when we're looking at this Tartarus team, it's all about survival. I will tell you right now, this team takes a long time. It's about an 8-9 minute run, and we're going to play a run on fast forward at the end of this video. And you'll see, it survives, it does just fine, but it takes 8 or 9 minutes to get through the run on hell mode. Now, my Fran is pretty standard for what I figure is like a standard Guardian build, not G3, like lower Guardian build. She's 254 speed, I think she's about 150k effective HP, so a little bit lower than the others because her defense is low. And then, 1400 attack. And then Emma is another monster that's on leftover runes, and Emma is here for two purposes. She's another healer and a shielder, and she adds glancing on her skill 1. She also does an AoE cleanse, which Amarna also has an AoE cleanse. So when you look at this team as a whole, what you see is 2 resurrectors, 5 healers, 2 AoE cleanses, and then I have glancing, I have attack break, I have defense break, and I'm listing these in order of importance, by the way. Glancing and attack break are the 2 most important things. Defense break and brand are the next most important, and then you have the heal block. So we have all the debuffs, we have the attack buffs from Fran, and we have the immunity from Fran. Now, again, I know that 2 of these monsters being LD4s, a lot of you may not have one or both. And then Tianqin being an LD3, more of you should have him, but I know some of you won't. Let's go take a look at what some of the alternatives for these monsters are. Okay, so we're here in the Monster Collection search screen, and we're going to start off by looking for the monsters that can resurrect, which are down here in this other effects section. So we'll go ahead and click revive and click search, and then we can just take a look through some of these monsters. Now we're going to see Vanessa will revive an ally, but she's really not a good fit for this team. Perna is only a self reviver. The Platy is really not a good option for this team either, because Tartarus cannot have his skills reset and he cannot be stunned. And then we get to this Mykeen, who revives a dead ally with 40 HP and grants immunity. But worries me more is the fact that she has a soul protection option, and that soul protection option might wind up getting cast if the AI is not smart enough. So then we come down to the wind monsters, and here's where we get to probably the 2 best alternative revivers for Amarna and Ione. Michelle is actually a much better reviver for the Tartarus stage than Ione is. But I think we should take a quick look at Iona's skills first and then compare with Michelle, and you'll see why I say she's a better option. The skill 2 is just a small heal, 25 and 15% to the 2 allies with the lowest HP, and it's a 3-turn cooldown. The revive skill is a 6-turn cooldown, and although it's a big revive because it revives you with 60% HP and defense, skill 2 is what we're really looking at here, because the Michelle skill 2 extends beneficial effects, reduces negative effects, and then the heal scales based on the amount of each of those. And we're going to have a lot of debuffers and buffers in this team, so she's going to wind up healing the team a ton. She's a much better fit. Michelle actually does damage according to max HP also. I think the difference is the base HP. Iona has a much higher base HP. That's why she does more damage. But anyway, as we look at the revive, we see that the Michelle revive is also 6 turns, but it does HP balancing, which is a little bit more dangerous, because if Michelle happens to be low when she casts the revive, then the revived monster's HP is going to be low as well. But even with that said, I feel like the skill 2 for Tartarus is such a better skill that Michelle is the better fit. Now, some of the other revivers that we could use, Briand is one that a lot of older players will already have built. He does the job well. Eladriel is obviously the premium reviver because he's going to do an AoE revive to full health, and he doesn't have that cooldown extension like the Amarna does. So one of the weak parts of Amarna is it's a 4-turn AoE revive, but it adds 2 turns cooldown for every monster he revives, which really cripples you in this run, because he loses his ability to cleanse and heal for a long period of time at that point. So honestly, I would tell you that Michelle and Eladriel would probably be better than the 2 LD4s I'm using. It just so happened that those were the monsters I had that were ruined. And Amarna does serve a second purpose, which is he's your defense breaker and your brander. Even though he's not doing... I know his skill 2 has like this huge multiplier, but in this build, he doesn't do much damage, but he sets up the damage. Okay, so you guys can go through and look at any of the other revivers. Beta is obviously a great option. Taeon is probably a good option. If you have Nagong, props to you. And definitely a great option there as well. So there's a lot of good options for Reviver. Now, what about the role that Tianqin serves, which is your crit block? Well, first of all, if you have Beta, then you're going to get Beta as a Reviver, and you're getting that role of reduced crit. But if you don't have Beta, like myself, then you'll notice that pretty much all of the Drunken Masters have basically that same skill. So you could replace Tianqin with Huan, you could replace Tianqin with Mao. Tianqin is just better because he's got attribute neutrality. But still, Huan would work. Honestly, Huan would be your better one. But Mao would still work if that's what you needed to use. Okay, now to replace the Emma, we're going to look for somebody who can apply glancing and who can also provide heal. Here it is, increased chances. I was looking for the word glancing, so I finally just looked for the icon. So anyway, we'll look for our glancing, and then we'll come up here and we will look for, we'll come down here and we'll look for somebody who does healing, recover HP. We'll go ahead and search. And as soon as I scroll down, you're going to be like, oh, her. Chasun. So Chasun is going to give you attack buff, AoE heal. She's got a huge heal with her Fallen Blossoms, and she adds the glancing hits. The one thing Chasun does not do that the Emma does is cleanse. Miang has a sort of cleanse with her skill 2, and then also gives you attack buff, AoE heal, and glancing. So I'm not going to really need to run through every one of these monsters. You guys all have different monsters, but you know basically this is where you can find them. You come over to Monster Collection and you search for those attributes. Okay, so that's the gist of how this team is built. Let's go ahead and just do a run. So we're just going to fast forward through it, but at least this way you'll be able to see how the team works. Okay, that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you found this useful. I wish you the best in building your auto hell mode team. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please pop that subscribe button over on the left. It shows me that you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, it shows me that you found the information useful and hopefully it helped you in your gameplay. So here's the deal. You pop subscribe and I'll keep popping out content. Thanks, guys.